Hey everyone, this is Chris Benton from the Chris and Sandy Show. We get up close and personal with some amazing guests throughout the entertainment industry. And this is, I guess you could say, the CRS edition, where we're interviewing a bunch of people this week because of CRS and all that. And for people that don't know, CRS is called Country Radio Seminar, where every year the country music industry gets together and they learn from each other and learn the new things that's going on within the country music world. It's a really exciting thing. And for the first time this year, we get to be a part of it because it's virtual. So we're kind of excited about that. So next year, when it's back face to face, we'll be there. And today, as our first guest, we have Dani Taylor. We're excited to have her on. So, Dani, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure. Now, is this your first time with CRS or?
Yes, I've never been. I've been in Nashville for 3 years, literally to the date, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I never was able to make it to CRS, but I've always wanted to check it out, so I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, so some things COVID has actually helped, as you can see. And I always want to talk about that side of it as we grow our show, is we're in a tough time for entertainers right now.
Mhm.
So how has COVID affected you, and what have you done to kind of maneuver through that crazy maze?
COVID's affected me and like many other artists when it comes to performing live. Can't really do that. And even if you do perform live, the audience is, 1/16th the size that it usually is. And you don't get like the same energy because people have to sit down. Unless, of course, I mean, there are some places like Florida, which I'm currently in right now, but again, like you'd have to travel here to perform. Um, but to get around that, you kind of have to build more of an online presence. So building your social medias right now is pretty much one of the only things you can really do.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, that's
tough.
like with us, when we launched this show January of last year, it was a
Mhm.
couple months before COVID happened. And, we had one goal of 100 interviews our first year. We thought if we could do that, it would be really great. And then COVID happens. And and I told Sandy, well, this may be our silver lining. As a brand new show, a lot of times you're not going to get anybody of any significant size on your show. As a brand new show, I was like, but you know what? We might be able to grow our show faster than we normally would,
Mhm.
because of COVID. And we went all out. And because of that, we did over 300 interviews last
Yeah, that's awesome.
year. So what do you want to learn from CRS this year?
I just want to learn like what it's all about. I don't really know like a ton about it. Like I've had friends that have gone there and they've told me about it, and I've seen videos posted online. So I'm just here to soak up all the information and, add to the pool of information as well.
So tell us about Table for One, Drinking for Two.
So Table for One, Drinking for Two came out almost 2 weeks ago now. It'll be 2 weeks this Friday. And it is my third single I've come out with. I came out with two previous singles, Girl Most Likely and Man a Few Words last year. And this single is all about, embracing being single
Yeah.
and your independence and not needing anybody. And it kind of has like a little joke with it because the hook is table for one, drinking for two. So I love to add like a little a little joke to my hooks. But it's definitely one of I'm really excited about it because it is sitting right now. For 2 weeks, it's been on some editorial playlists, Wild Country, Fresh Country Finds, and New Music Nashville, and another one I can't remember right now.
Oh, wow. I love that. So, a lot of people would ask when you wanted to do music. Um, I like to go deeper than that on all of our shows. When did it click that music could actually be a career for you?
Hmm. Probably a year and a half ago. So I did move to Nashville 3 years ago to pursue music, but I didn't really think like I could be it until I had a show where I sang a new song, Man a Few Words, and I had like the room in my hands, and the room was like completely silent, and listened to every single word and was hanging on every single word
Oh,
um,
wow.
of my song. And it wasn't until then I thought to myself, like, I could actually do this. Like, I could do it.
You know, as you know, a lot of people they see the glory of like a Blake Shelton, of a Miranda, of a Carey, but they don't see the grind, the sacrifice, the tears, the struggles that it takes not just to get to their level, but even a career level with music. And I always want to talk about that side of it because, as you know, um, nobody talks about that. Everybody, all you see is the glory. You know, when you watch a lot of interviews and they talk about the good side, but you never really talk about the struggles and sacrifice. And I want to talk about that. Tell us a little bit about what that's like.
It's I think it's more of a mental game than anything with yourself. It's not like, obviously, like in my opinion, whatever you are meant for in life, it will be the path will just show itself. And
Mhm.
there's going to be little barriers along the way to stop you from going down like the wrong path. So I don't look at those struggles as bad things. I just look at it as God's protection. Like, I don't look at it as like, oh my gosh, like it's just not going to happen. Cuz at some point when you're pursuing um, a career in the entertainment business, you have to be realistic. Like, yes, I'm a dreamer. Of course, I'm a dreamer. You have to be when you're a singer songwriter, but you also have to have a realistic side, and you need to understand that it might not happen. So you have to literally let the path take you where you're supposed to go. Because if you don't, you're going to get stuck. You're going to get really sad. Of course, a lot. I mean, I've been there. A lot of my friends have been there. Because again, like, not everyone can like make it, and it's like a really crappy thing to come to a realization like that. But it's good at the same time, because if you're stuck in all the way up here in La La Land, and then like you're like 50 years old or something, like then you're gonna come all the way down here. It's not gonna be a fun ride. So um, I think it's good to just stay realistic. But still have like hopes and dreams, and just let the path take you to where you're supposed to go, because you never know. Like, I always tell my friends, I might end up, I don't know, in Australia next year. You just never know what happens. So it's really important to just let the path follow the path that's in front of you. Fight for it, obviously. Don't just be lazy about it. But that's my opinion on that.
Somebody asked on the thread is what personal professional challenges have you faced in the last year in the new world of COVID?
Um, Again, it's with traveling, not being able to perform live. Like, I haven't performed in a live show since February. It's been a whole year. And I was really sad about that, because I had a bunch of band shows lined up, and I had never done, like, I've done band shows, but not in Nashville.
Yeah.
So I was really excited to do like Whiskey Jam and Bus Call. And that never happened. And that was really frustrating, because I think it's so important to like build, doing a writer's round is not the same as being in a band, because a
Yeah.
writer's round, you have to wait for people next to you. You can have banter with people next to you, which is nice. When you're on a stage alone, like, you have to banter with the audience.
Mhm.
And you're by yourself, so you can't like go off of somebody else.
Yeah.
Um, you have to really, think on your feet. I don't think it's a I mean, I would like that experience, but I'm not like scared of the stage, so it's not like the biggest deal to me, because I've done musicals since I was a kid, and um, I'm really good. Like, even if I make a mistake, like, I make a joke about it. Like, when I was in Annie, oh my gosh, I completely forgot. I remember this one time, one show I did. I was Annie, and I was singing Tomorrow, and I was singing it really loud, and then I look to my right, and I see the director, and she's like pointing at the mic, and I forgot I stopped singing. I walk over, I pick up the mic, and I was like trying to remember. It was really funny, but I got back on it. But it's just like little things like that. You live and you learn. Like, don't think too much about the bad things that
Yeah.
happen. Just try to stay positive.
And
And there's, sorry.
Yeah, and really the only thing you have control over in this whole world, especially music, is what you do. You can't control how people react. You can't control whether you, like you said earlier, whether you make it to that big top. You can like control you being consistent.
Yeah, yeah. And you can control your attitude about things too. Like I posted a TikTok, like a sarcastic one. There's this Bachelor guy called The Bachelor, Matt James, and
Mhm.
he posts these random TikToks about charcuterie boards, but he like never says charcuterie correctly, and then he makes them with like PB&J sandwiches and like frozen things, which isn't not like a real charcuterie board. So I like made my own like a Valentine's Day edition.
Mm.
And I had like some people getting really angry in the comments at me. One girl was like, because I purposely pronounced it char juicy board or something. Like I did that on purpose because it's sarcasm. There
Yeah.
were people in the comments being like, it's pronounced charcuterie in the French language. And I was like, it's pronounced sarcasm in comedy. Like, come on, people, get with the times. Like, stop
Yeah.
taking things so seriously. But like again, with that, like when people respond like that, you just give them back what they did to you. But I think it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the team. And while I'm doing this, we always have our 9-year-old come on and ask a question. So I'm going to tell Sandy, because he's listening, to get little Chris to come on back here. But tell us the team that helped you be who you are, because I don't think they get enough love.
Yeah. So Adkins Publicity, they've helped me big time. As well as my co-writers, Will Rambo, Cherie Austin, and my producers, Brad Hill and Dave Thompson. They are the ones that, got me to get my music all together and help me out with that.
Hi, Dani. So, what's your favorite food?
My favorite food. I think it's cake right now. I like cake. Vanilla cake.
Pizza.
Pizza. Ooh, that's a good one.
Cake and pizza go great together.
Yes, they do.
Bye, thanks.
Bye.
Yeah, we are a family show, and Sandy's with our Caitlin because in early mornings we kind of can't put her down for a nap. We usually try to do most shows 2 and 3 p.m. That's when she goes down for a nap, and then we can do them together. But CRS a little different. So,
Yep. I totally understand.
So what would you say is next for you?
Right now, I'm just trying to live life a little bit to get some inspiration to write music, because I find it very hard to write music when you're stuck in your apartment most of the time. I find traveling to other places and really just living life a little bit really sparks my imagination. So right now I'm going to be traveling and just writing good new music and then putting out music as well. I think I have music coming out set for April that I plan on putting it out. So that's what I plan on doing.
I love that. So somebody asked, what's your favorite 3 songs of all time?
Ooh, I'm not a person who loves favorites. I'm kind of like every day I listen to like new songs, but favorite 3 songs of all time. I really like Motown and like old school music. So Bad Girl by Donna Summers. What is that one song called? I'm so bad at remembering song titles.
I know the feeling.
You know what? I love Whitney Houston's "I Want to Dance with Somebody" right now. I've been listening to that. I'm looking at my Spotify playlist because the songs I've been like obsessed with recently. Oh, I love Robin Ottolini's F-150. That's a good one. That's my favorite at the moment. I listen to it.
And after you, when he pops in, we'll be going to Lucas Hoge. But until he pops in, we can talk.
Oh, cool.
Because we're doing like for the first morning, we're doing 4 back to back to back, about every 15, 20 minutes apart.
Wow.
Never done that before. Yeah.
Good luck with that.
Most of our interviews are like 45 minutes each. So I'm like trying to figure out, okay, what are the most impactful questions I have in a short period of time? So what would you say, who are some of your musical influences growing up, and who are they now, and how has that changed?
Musical influences growing up. I never really I wasn't obsessed with anybody when I was a kid, really. But mostly my musical influences were obviously my family because my grandma's a piano teacher. I never learned piano though. I can play certain songs by ear. Um, I'm more by ear when it comes to piano, which is not what you're supposed to do. I can play Moonlight Sonata. I learned that and I can still play it to this day. I love that song. But my grandmother is definitely a musical influence. I still love classical music. So I'll turn it on. She used to take me to Celtic festivals when I was a kid, and Celtic is so similar to country music. Damn near the same, because there are some Celtic songs and I'm like, this sounds like country music. And then there are some country songs I'm like, this sounds like Celtic music. And my mom, of course, she would always.
Lucas,
how's it going, guys?
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing great. Doing great. Just
is this pretty cool that we can do this?
Yeah.
Crazy.
So I'm gonna mute Lucas real quick. Okay, and Dani, tell everybody how they can reach out to you, and then we'll finish it up.
Yeah, y'all can reach out to me at Dani Taylor Music on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, whatever social media you use. It's DANITAYLOR Music.
Love that. And we loved having you on the show today, and we definitely look forward to having you back.
Thank you so much for having me.
Hey.
How's it going?
Welcome to the show, Lucas.
Thanks, man. It's good to be here. Trying to brave the stay in and stay out of the snow.
And I'm echoing a little bit. Might want to put it here.
I'll just
Or turn your sound down.
Sounds good here.
Perfect. I can still hear me, but
I don't have earbuds with me or anything, so we're gonna have to rip it.
Okay. So what do you want to get out of CRS?
Well, I didn't even know they were doing it like this year, honestly. So honestly, I'm just promoting the new single. It's coming out March 1st, called "Get Lost." I wrote with my good friends Matt Nozell and Matt Nolan. So it's a great song. We just finished up the music video. We took over an old drive-in movie theater and had a blast down there, and I can't wait to get it out. I think you're muted there, bud. I think you're muted.
Okay. Gotta love technology.
Right?
It said it unmuted, but it didn't.
It's all good, man.
So tell us how COVID has affected you, and what have you done to kind of maneuver?
Oh, I mean, COVID's affected all of us musicians, and I mean, in the same way that the fact that, not being out on the road is just brutal, not only to our bottom line, but not being able to get all your stuff out there to everybody face to face. That's how I love interacting with our fans, is from the stage, and meeting them backstage, VIP lines, meet and greets, all that stuff. So it's just a whole different world now. We got our first live show coming up, supposed to be this Saturday in Omaha, Nebraska, but we'll see if we can make it down there. But, you always had to pivot. I've been doing stuff online for many years already, so that, having that knowledge of what we can do online, being able to pivot quickly into certain things, and we were able to do a lot of live concerts online, and had a lot of success. I mean, I'm currently the number 9 in the world right now for live streaming, which is pretty great, according to Polestar. So we've been doing well, and very blessed that we've been able to pivot so quickly and make those significant leaps in the online world.
That's like for our show, we launched a couple months before COVID in January.
Yeah.
And our original plan was 100 interviews first year. We thought if we could do that, it would be ahead of the crowd. It'd be a great foundation. And COVID happened.
Oh, yeah.
And I told Sandy, you know what? This is our time to shine. And we stepped it up and did over 300 interviews last year.
That's awesome, man. Congratulations.
So in a way, COVID helped our show out.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So a lot of people would ask, when did you know you wanted to do music? But I like to go deeper than that. When did it click that this could be a career?
Honestly, I was still in high school, and I just started, really learning guitar good, because I started out playing drums and then moved to piano and picking up, harmonica and violin and everything like that. But, when I picked up that guitar and started playing, it kind of just came natural to me. And a buddy of mine had a music store in Beatrice, Nebraska, which is about an hour away from my hometown. And he's like, man, you want to come and, sing in the lobby for my grand opening? I'm like, yeah, man, for sure. And I was singing some songs there in the grand opening, and a bunch of older dudes walked in, and they just kind of sat down. They were the only ones that sat down and listened to me. And after I got done playing my set, they were like, hey, man, how would you like to front our band? I was like, yeah. And it was a band called Southern Cross, and they still tour in the Midwest today. And I was, obviously not even 18 years old yet. So we started practicing and rehearsing, and every bar I had to play in, I had the big X's on my hand as I was singing up there. and finally we started getting calls that, hey, you want to open up for this person, open up for this person. And that's when it kind of clicked. And there was a local radio station back in Kansas that I started doing some contests with, and they kind of took me under their wing and brought me down to CRS for the first time before I even lived in Nashville. And that was really cool, and that's when I was like, you know what? I'm going to try this out. So as soon as graduation happened, I just moved down to Nashville and been cranking it out ever since.
Well, as you know, a lot of people, they see the glory of a Blake Shelton, Moran, Carey, all that. But they don't see the grind, the sacrifice, the tears, the struggles that it takes, not just to get to their level, but even a career level with music. And I always want to talk about that, because nobody does.
You're absolutely right, man. And that's that's something that I talk to a lot of people about, because they're, a lot of people are like, man, what's some of that advice that you could give to somebody trying to get in the music business? I was like, make it a career. Don't try and be a star, or, try and do that. It's like the fame and fortune will come if you can make it your career. So you got to be in it to win it, and determine what your level of success is. I mean, I feel like I've been successful since the day I got here, and it's been hard. But, every day is just that little step further and further. It's like playing golf. You get that one swing before you're about ready to quit, right? And you're like, oh, I can do this. And you hit another good one down the road. You go, oh, I can do this, and then you hit, 9 holes of just terrible balls, and then you hit another one. You're like, oh, I can do this again. So it's like you gotta celebrate those small achievements and know that you're doing this and doing it for a living and making it your career. And that's what I tell everybody. It's like, just find what your level of success is and try and beat it every time.
And that's what we're doing with our show. It's like, we're chasing the same dreams y'all are, just different platforms. And we just recently had Sarah Evans on. So that's a milestone for us.
Good, man. She's a good girl.
And and as we grow, it's funny because when it first started, it was a country music show.
Sure.
And now it's become, because of COVID, entertainment interview show.
Good, man. That's great.
So what are some moments when you look back and you're like, wow, I got to do.
Oh gosh, I have so many. I don't even think we've got enough time for that. But one of the first moments, so I was, playing the bars down on Broadway, writing with anybody that I could, and I was actually playing the back room at the Purple Prison down on Broadway there, Tootsie's, and
Oh, wow.
and there was a guy that was sitting at the bar, and he came up to me after my set and was like, man, I really like that song you did. How would you like to to open up for George Jones at the Ryman
Oh,
Auditorium.
wow.
And I was like, no way, you're putting me on, man. He's like, no, I promise you, I'll call you tomorrow. We'll set it all up. I'm like, are you serious? And then about 2 weeks later, I was able to do a full 45-minute show before George Jones at the Ryman Auditorium. It was the last time anybody got to open up for him there at the Ryman, which before he passed away. So that was a huge milestone. And then flash forward to 2017 when I finally get asked to play the Opry for the first time, which was really, really cool. And man, those milestones like that just really make you feel like, okay, I'm getting accepted into this this crazy business they call music.
So what was the Opry like walking in that circle?
Oh, it was incredible because when I first moved to town, I had a lot of friends that I met that were playing for big artists. Eddie Kilgallen, who Eddie K, he's the one of the founders of Ricochet. He was playing for Chad Brock at the time and Montgomery Gentry. Now he's the band leader and business guy for Montgomery Gentry. And he'd always ask me to come backstage and hang out with him. And he's like, man, go get your picture in the circle. I was like, no, I am not even going to step foot on the stage until I get the invite. And if I never get the invite, then I guess I'll never get that picture, right? And thank God I did, and I thank God I waited, and because it's just so special when you get the invitation from the Opry. It's the mother church of country music. It is, to me, the pinnacle of an artist's career when you get that invitation. So it's pretty incredible.
And I love that because so many people we brought on the show, they say the same thing, that they've been people have asked to take a picture up there and they won't do it. They want that first time when they walk in that circle to be that invitation.
Yeah. I got something weird going on. Is that music coming from you?
Do
you hear that?
I hear it.
What the heck is that? Hold on 1 second. I think my Alexa decided to go, I don't know, dance music. That was weird. That was weird.
You never know when these recordings are going to happen.
That was crazy. That's never happened before. The Alexa just decided to go off and start playing like dance music. It was weird. So sorry. I didn't know that's what it was.
Anyway. Funny. Now back a little bit about the sacrifice side. I remember we asked Alice what advice she would give an up-and-coming artist back in 2014.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget what she said. She said, this may sound funny coming from someone full-time, but if you can see yourself doing something else, do that. And just keep this as a hobby. She goes, because the moment you want it to be a career, everything changes. You no longer own your piece of your life. Your friends and relatives never understand because they invite the weddings, cookouts, holidays, weekends. You're happy to know to everything. Your family has to sacrifice and kind of steer you in the world. But then she added, but if you cannot see yourself doing anything else, then go all in like you just said.
Yep.
Because that's the only way that those kind of sacrifices could ever be worth it. What do you think of what she said? And let's talk about the sacrifice side now.
Oh, it's absolutely 100% true. I mean, it's like I said, you got to be in it to win it no matter what you're doing. I mean, if you want to be a contractor, go build houses all day long until you're the best contractor that there is. And you got to do the same thing with music. It's it's all encompassing. You have to wake up every single day, want to pick up that guitar or whatever instrument it is, write songs, record music. I mean, it needs to consume every square inch of your heart and soul, because that's what you're given every single day to your fans and trying to build that following. So yeah, it's all or nothing, honestly. It really is.
I love that. Even with our show, it's like we're all in. We're just trying to outwork everybody.
Yep. You have to. You got to want it more than the person right behind you, because there's 1,000 of them that want it just as bad, if not worse.
And I've always heard saying that you just got to outlast everybody.
Oh, exactly. That's what I'm hoping.
There's a joke that I've heard, and I love this, and it kind of goes along with that. That there's two guys in a woods, and a bear pops up. One guy jumps down tying his shoes, and the other guy says, "What are you doing? You can't outrun the bear." He says, "I don't have to. I just have to outrun you."
Exactly. I tell everybody that when I'm hunting.
Now, as you know, a lot of people, they see artists, but they don't see the teams behind them. And I always think that they don't get enough love. So on our show, they do. So if you want to take a few moments to tell us about the team behind you. And while you're at it, Andy can bring Chris in.
Yeah, I mean, it takes an army for sure. I've got my my publicist team, Atkins Publicity, who's always there to help out. My wife, who's actually an amazing manager in her company called Artistry Alliances with her business partner, Jessica Lithincombe, which they help me out with all my partnerships and getting those partnerships that really help move the ball down the field. My radio team, fantastic people. Gosh, it goes on and on and on. And, and each one of those brands that I work with are great people. And they know that, when we can ask for certain things to help elevate their brand, but it also elevates my brand with radio and TV and all these different stuff that we do. So, I mean, the team is deep because, you got to have lawyers that help you out. You got all that stuff, So when people say, oh, yeah, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, it's all the people behind them that are making that happen so that you can do it,
What's funny is we usually bring our 9-year-old to ask the question because he's part of our team too. And Sandy ain't seen him in here yet, so I guess he's not, because we got a 23-month-old daughter too.
Right on. Awesome, man.
So if you could co-write with anyone in your life, who would it be and what would you write?
That's so tough, because I grew up with loving the songwriter aspect more so than the artist aspect of it. And how's it going, dude? And it's good to see you.
Okay.
And so I've got to meet some of my musical heroes, like Skip Ewing, for instance. He actually called me directly. He got my number from my booking agent. And he called me this Christmas and was like, man, I really love the fact that you cut my song. It wasn't his child. And he was really, really excited about that. And that to me was like so cool because, I grew up as a kid listening to his music and analyzing how he wrote songs. So for those things to happen. But if there was anybody I could write with, I would have to say James Taylor. I just love the way he can craft a song and has those cool melodies. And I think it'd be fun, really fun.
So here's another member of our team.
That's awesome. You having fun?
Yes. So what's your favorite food?
I lost you there. What'd you say?
I said, what's your favorite food?
My favorite foods? Woo! I love pizza. I don't get to eat it enough, but I'm a big steak guy, and it's all about the cut. It has to be about 2 inches thick.
What's yours?
Pizza.
Pizza, yes.
You can eat pizza all day long.
Oh, me too, man. Me too. We need a big pizza party.
Bye, thanks.
See you, buddy.
Yeah, he loves that part. And thank you for supporting the military too.
Oh, I'm honored that they keep having me come over and say hi to them. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, because again, our troops definitely need that.
Yeah, morale over there can be ups and down, the ebbs and flows, because we call it killing the groundhog. We just try and take them out of their element for one day because it's the same thing over and over for them over there. So, and 8 months, 6 months, a year at a time. So yeah, it's pretty incredible to go over there and see what they do and how they do it and bring back those thank yous.
In a little bit, when they pop in, we got TexWestus coming on, so that'd be pretty cool. Today we're doing like I've never done it like this. We got like 4 every 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, I'm sure. I know I've got another one here coming up. I got to hop off as well, so I'm back to back all day long as well.
That's one thing about CRS. I mean CRS. I'm thinking of the train in Jacksonville.
Right.
But the CRS. They say CRS week can really kill you almost.
Oh yeah. I think everybody's going to be. How do you put this? As opposed to live CRS, I think everybody's going to be more coherent during all of these interviews.
And what do you want to get out of CRS?
Well, like I said at the first, it's promoting the single, promoting the TV show. My TV show came out in June of 2020, and it's doing great.
Tell us about the show.
Yeah, the show's called Hoge Wild. It's a lifestyle show. It's something I've been doing for a long time, and finally just been able to put it out there on TV, and it performed amazingly, 37% better than any show they've had in that time slot on Sportsman's Channel. And we're touring. We're going all over the world. It's heavy with the music, but it's heavy on what I do. I was hunting fish and jumping out of airplanes and scuba diving and just having a great time. We were actually in New Zealand filming for one of the episodes when all the COVID started happening and everything got shut down. We left the day before they started shutting down New Zealand. And then I had to fly straight from Nashville when we landed to Arizona, and I had spring training with the Dodgers. And I was in the Dodger dressing room putting on my uniform with all the guys, and coach walks in. He's like, "Guys, we're gonna have to shut down spring training." And man, it was a bummer, but we still had fun out there while it was happening. But everybody, the mood had changed. Trying to prepare for a season that wasn't going to happen. So, but then they ended up, winning the pennant, which was awesome, getting the World Series. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing. COVID has done a lot of rough things. But there's also a lot of silver linings too, in all of it. It's been a crazy year.
Oh, to say the least.
and I know a lot of people hope that we get back to normal this year, but I think it's next year.
Yeah, I think it's probably going to be a little bit longer than that too. We've got some live festivals and stuff that we're doing. I'm doing a bunch of shows with Justin Moore this year, so really excited about that, and just hoping that they continue.
Who's some of the people you've opened up with?
Oh gosh, well, George Jones, Montgomery Gentry, Justin Moore. Gosh, I mean, I'd have to go back and write it down. It's been so many. You lose track, and you're like, "Oh, it's just no show. Let's get out there and do our best."
That's like we've done like 340 interviews or so, and sometimes I'll go to email somebody who I've already interviewed.
Yeah, oh, I'm sure.
So as we close, tell everybody how they can reach you.
Yes, if you just go to lucashoge.com, and all my socials are right there too. Everything's just at Lucas Hoge, and it's pretty easy to get a hold of us. Instagram, TikTok, all of it. So yeah, come hang out with us.
All right. You have a great day, and we look forward to having you back.
All right, we'll see you, man.
Welcome to the show, TexWestus. That's like a tongue twister.
Yeah.
Yes, it's West Texas, just backwards. So TexWestus.
So how are y'all today?
We're doing well.
We're doing great.
How about you?
Thank y'all for having us on.
Yeah.
It's our pleasure. So how has COVID affected y'all and what you do, and what have you done to kind of maneuver through that crazy maze?
Yeah.
It's hit us pretty hard in terms of shows that we felt like 2019, we were just kind of rocking it. We were all over the country, and we were set up to be back all over the country again in 2020, and then COVID hit, and we just got shut down. So we decided we would continue to be productive, and so we got hooked up with some writers in Nashville, and we spent about 3 weeks this summer of 2020 in Nashville, and we were writing, 7 hours a day.
Yeah.
Just constant back to back. And then at the end of it all, we picked the best ones and we got it recorded. And so that's something to look forward to. This year is kind of our work from 2020.
Yeah, just kind of getting it all out there. It's been a time of learning, especially on the business side. Like, when you're playing so much, you don't really study the business as much. You're just kind of playing a lot. But you kind of this last year, like we're really forced to, and it's fine. Like it's always good to learn. It's like always good to learn how it works.
Had to learn, how to run the LLC and not file the taxes the right way and have employees, and that's been a whole. There needs to be game. Just on
but
that.
It's been a blessing in disguise for sure, because we've got a lot of great songs out of it and made a lot of connections that we might not have
had we been on the road all year.
Previously. So it's been a blessing in disguise for sure.
And COVID has really stepped up our show, because I remember we launched this show January of 2020, a couple months before the whole thing happened.
Yeah.
And our original purpose and plan for that year was we felt like 100. If we did 100 interviews, we'd be doing good. We felt like that would be pushing it, but we thought 100 interviews would be a great foundation for a first year. And then COVID happens. Yeah. And I remember telling Sandy, "Ooh, this may be our time to shine." Because everything is slowing down so that we can now get these people on our show. Because again, there's a lot of people when you're doing shows 3, 4, 5, 6 times a week, it's almost impossible to book them on something like this. So all of a sudden, everything is shut down. I was like, okay, you know what? We're going to step it up. And because of that, we did over 300 interviews last year.
That's amazing.
Wow. That's awesome.
So it's definitely been interesting. And, I kind of joke with Sandy, and I don't want to take COVID lightly, but we feel like in 4 or 5 years, if we have like a Bobby Bones show, a Ty Bentley show, a Kelly Clarkson show on TV, we're kind of owe COVID to that, because that built our foundation.
There you go.
You got to find the silver lining. It's definitely been a really hard year.
There's been lots of blessings in disguise,
but we've been able to find the silver lining in it all. So and it sounds like you did too.
Now, is this y'all's first time participating in CRS, and what do you want to get out of it?
Yes, this is our first time. So we just got hooked up with 313 management, and that's been a huge blessing for us that wouldn't have happened if not for COVID. So in that way, we're something else to be thankful for. But Kimberly has been the one pushing CRS. We didn't even know.
We didn't even know
about
it.
Thing, so.
We're from West Texas, so it's like we go up to Nashville, and then we come back, and like
it's a whole different world where we're at and how we do business. And so I think just right now, just making all of these connections, doing all of these interviews, we're just really excited to see what happens through all of this. So
yeah.
And what's funny is that, like, last year, I remember when CRS happened, I was like, you know what? We're going to be there next year. And we weren't positioned to be there in person, even if it was in person. So all of a sudden, we found out, they're doing it virtual. I was like, okay, we got to be a part of it then.
Yeah.
So it's really cool that, again, COVID kind of made it to where our show can participate in something that we would not been able to participate this year. Now, next year, when it goes back face to face, we'll be there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and we're already thinking about we'll probably go next year too.
We'll definitely be there. But kind of like you said, we wouldn't have had the opportunity to be there this year if it weren't for virtual. Because COVID kind of took our business away, I had to go back to my full-time job. I'm a kindergarten teacher.
Oh, wow.
So that doesn't allow me a whole lot of wiggle room to travel and to go to other seminars and conferences. And so this is a blessing too, that it's all virtual this year, that we can actually be a part of it.
So as you know, a lot of people, they see the glory of a Blake Shelton, of a Miranda, of a Carey. They don't see the sacrifice, the struggles, the tears that it takes to get not just to their level, but even a career level with music. And I always want to talk about that side of it, because nobody talks about it. I'm going to tell a quick story that kind of helped guide us where I want this to go. But in 2014, we interviewed Allison Steele with Two Steel Girls. And at that time, her and her daughter were full-time with music. And I asked Allison what advice she'd given up-and-coming artists. And I'll never forget the advice she said. She said, this may sound funny coming from someone full-time, but if you can see yourself doing something else, go do that and just keep this as a hobby. She goes, because the moment you want it to be a career, you no longer own your life. Everybody around you owns a little piece of your life. Your friends and relatives never understand, because they invite you to weddings, to cookouts, to weekends, to getaways. But you have to say no to everything, especially at the beginning when you're in that really grind period, those first years. Then your family has to sacrifice, because they kind of have to kick you out the door and say, I'll share you with the world, and kind of be happy about it, even though they're probably not, because they're rooting for you. She says, but if you cannot see yourself doing anything else, then go all in, because the only way that those type of sacrifices could be worth it. What do you think of what she said? Let's talk about that side of it.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with that. As I just said, I'm a kindergarten teacher. But we had positioned ourselves where I could quit. And so I did quit.
Yeah.
Where I was off for the entire year of 2019. And that was a super blessing because we were busier than ever. We were traveling more than we'd ever traveled. We put ourselves in a position to be available anytime that we needed to be available. And so that was very helpful in terms of growing the business. But like I said, COVID hit and it took away all of our shows, but that was the only way we were able to make money through shows. And we weren't allowed to do that anymore. And the virtual concerts only went so far.
Yeah.
People weren't really inclined to, Venmo you when you were playing on Facebook. And so we just had to have a hard conversation and sat down and agreed that since I had this degree and I had this opportunity, I would go ahead and go back to work because we needed the money. We needed to be able to pay the bills and make sure that we weren't living in a cardboard box. And he's been the one to really step up, and he's he's working two jobs, basically my job and his, in terms of the music business right now. And I do my best to make sure that it's not just staying still, but also moving forward. So it's like every day it's a freaking grind, just like you were saying. It's like, people, you're right. I mean, people don't understand like the amount of time it takes and the amount of effort and work that it goes into, some people, all they see is like, oh, you have a show, next Friday. Okay. So what are you doing all this other time? It's like, okay.
There's a lot of work outside of that.
Absolutely.
There's so much. You have to be essentially all
running
the
social media is a full-time job, and that's just one aspect of it. And so Corbin has been working his butt off.
Well, it sucks because I freaking can't stand social media. Freaking I wish it would.
We are both like anti-social media. We would not do it if we didn't have to.
I wish like Facebook would just like glitch out and but anyhow, but unfortunately you have to put time into that. So it's like, spend so much time just like focusing on trying to make people interested in what you're doing online. It's like, look, I just want to play music and have people enjoy music with me and the songs. And
sorry.
Hey,
it's like -6 right now where we're at, and so leaving him outside is not an option. So he's really happy with that choice.
You got a lot of that snow.
It's more cold than snow. We've got a little bit of snow, but not as much as we anticipated. And it's just very, very cold here.
Well, like one of the things that we've picked up on is just like how, like the Blake Sheltons and the Carries and the people like that. Well, it's like, okay, well, what did it take for him to get there? Because he didn't start out that way. They didn't start out like that successful. And so it's like a lot of times there's many, many years of pre-planning, all this stuff that goes into it, it's like.
And it's a lot of sacrifice. It's a lot of, we may be living off of ramen noodles this month and we don't get to go eat out and we don't get to go on that vacation. We had to, like you said, miss out on a wedding. One of my best friends was getting married in Mexico, and we just straight up couldn't afford it, because of the position that we're in, trying to build a business. You got to have money to make money, and we don't have that money right now. So everything we have is being poured back into this. So.
Well, like a good buddy of mine, you probably know, you've heard of Randall King, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And he, one of his deals is like, when he really started taking it seriously, he was like, dude, I got rid of all my bills. He's like, I got my old, 95 Chevy pickup single cab. He's like, I literally lived in the cab, but he still, he had enough, had enough money. He was, buying a little bit of food, had a band van and a trailer, and that's literally all he had, and that's kind of what you have to do to, really take it seriously and just,
and that's like for our show, we're in the same boat as y'all. We're trying to become that Bobby Bones, a Ty Bentley, the Kelly Clarkson show on TV and type stuff. But we don't have the money. So we don't have sponsors yet. So it's like we have to just outwork everybody else.
Absolutely.
And show that, we can do this and pull this off, and, don't know where the next dollar is going to come sometimes. In the evenings, we deliver food, in order to stay afloat, so that we can have the flexibility to build this show. So we get exactly where y'all are coming from. Now, as y'all know, a lot of people, they see you as the artist, but they don't see the teams behind you. And reason he's here now is because he's a part of our team. But before we talk to him in a minute, tell us a little bit about the team that helps you be who you are.
We have built, by the grace of God, an incredible team of people behind it. Not least of which is our families. They have gone above and beyond to help support us, in those moments that we can't afford dinner and that we can't, pay the bills this month. They have stepped up and really, helped us out. They've taken us grocery shopping to make sure we have food on the table, and not just to mention, helping us pay for the projects that we, it's expensive to record music. It's expensive to promote. It's expensive. And so, like I said, everything that we have is going into this, but we don't always have enough to cover that. And so our families have definitely helped. And then we
have a great team as far as like the, people who put in time every day to move forwards. And on top of that, like we have some, we do have some really cool sponsors and stuff, and not necessarily that it's financial sponsors, but maybe it's brand sponsoring and different things. So we're sponsored by like Coors Beer, and then we're sponsored by actually this hat
Red
company,
Dirt Hat Company,
sponsored by these guys.
But
gotta give them promotion.
There you go.
Our band, they have gone above and beyond anything that we would ask them. They are just as passionate about growing as we are. Which
has been a long journey, because, you don't always get the same people that you started with. We've gone through so many different band members, because it's like you have to it's not that you do, but it's just that time itself kind of vets people and what they, how much effort they want to put in, and what they're actually made to do. They may not be made to stick it out, but we have God's blessed us with the people to stick it out with us. So we're very happy for that. It's funny. One of my college professors is actually in the band.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So speaking of teams, we always like to bring our third co-host, little Chris, ask the question to each guest, because we are a family affair show.
Okay. Yeah.
That's awesome.
How's it going?
Hi, TexWestus.
Hi.
Better than I did.
So, what's your favorite food?
My favorite food?
Yes.
Oh, I love food way too much to pick just one.
Mexican food.
Yeah, that's probably true. Mexican food.
And what's yours?
Pizza.
She likes.
You like pizza?
Shrimp cocktail.
I love a good pizza too. We eat pizza a lot, but we're from Texas, and so Mexican food is just.
I love fajitas, steak fajitas, and then I love barbecue. She hates barbecue, but I love barbecue.
Love that. So you can go.
Okay, bye. Thanks.
Thanks, Dani.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
as we come to a close here, I kind of lost my train of thought here. But as you come to a close here, tell everybody how they can reach out to you.
You can find us everywhere at TexWestus, which is spelled out on your screen, TexWestus.
Website is TexWestus.com.
We're at
Spotify,
iTunes, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. We're everywhere at TexWestus.
Yeah,
I love that. And
brand new song.
And we look forward to having you back on the road on the show down the road.
Absolutely, we would love to be back. Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Y'all have a great day.
You too.
See you.
Welcome to the show, Ben Gallaher.
How you doing?
Or Gallaher, I guess it's. That's such an easy name to kind of tweak wrong.
Man, it happens all the time. Not a worry at all.
Makes me feel better you say that, because again, you're trying to get the names right as they come on. You plan ahead and you're like, okay, I got this, but then you hear what you've always heard.
No doubt.
So how are you doing today?
Man, I'm doing great. I appreciate you guys having me on the show.
It's definitely our pleasure that you're here. So I always like to start each episode the same way. How has COVID affected you? What have you done to kind of maneuver through that?
Yeah, man. It's been, I'll tell you what, you never take for granted another show again, no matter what. It's been wild. I mean, not being able to play. We played a couple this past fall. They were outside. So we had like 2 or 3 shows in the fall, and it felt like a full calendar just because we weren't used to, playing hardly any. We hadn't had any. But, man, it's like you try to find the good in a situation where, you can only control so much. So you try to find the good in it where I'm writing like crazy every single day. Usually I don't write on Fridays because we're on the road, but so able to write a little more because of that. Also, I mean, I'm gone most weekends. I've been married for 3.5 years. And so usually on the weekends I'm gone. I don't get time to take a weekend here or there, or like a vacation or anything. So it's been cool, like, to be able to spend time with my wife on the weekend where that wouldn't usually happen. But yeah, try to find the good things in a situation like this.
Yeah. That's like with us, when we started this show, and we started January of 2020, a couple months before COVID. And our original plan was 100 interviews first year. We thought if we could do that, we'd lay a great foundation for the show. And I thought that was pushing it, to be honest with you, 100 interviews the first year. And then COVID happens. So I told Sandy, I was like, this is our year to shine. We just have to bump it up. I was like, the whole entertainment industry is slowing down. And we'll be able to get people that normally wouldn't come on a brand new show because of this. So we stepped it up, and we did over 300 interviews last year. I don't know how we did it, but we pulled off 300 interviews last year.
Wow, that's unreal. You guys had a good year.
Yeah. So for us, COVID kind of exploded our show. And I hate to say it that way sometimes because, sometimes you feel guilty because, you don't want to take lightly COVID. But again, it's here. We can't change it. All we can do is kind of maneuver our life to try to say, you know what? How can we take advantage of this?
No doubt. No, that's really great. Good for you guys, though. That's awesome.
Now, when did you know that, a lot of people ask, when did you know you want to do music? I always like to go deeper than that. When did it click that this could be a career?
That's great, man. Probably early high school, early mid high school is when, because I started playing guitar when I was 6, and this is all I've ever wanted to do.
Wow.
There was nothing else. So it's always been in my mind, but there's a time, like you just said, like there's a time where it goes from dream to it flips into like, well, wait a second, this, like, I could actually like do this. And that time is getting closer, which was after high school. And so it was around then, probably sophomore year, I would say, in high school is when it was like, I always wanted to move to Nashville, even as a kid and through my whole life. But probably sophomore year was when it was like, all right, now it's getting serious.
Wow. I love that. Let's talk about your video with Every Small Town with fans. How did that idea come up, bringing fans into it, and how did that work?
Yeah, well, we were talking about different ideas with my team at Courts Hill, and somebody said, well, it would be cool is if we had fans send in their own videos of them in their town.
Oh, wow.
And it could be really like anything with them driving down their main street or kicking up a dirt road or hanging out with their girl at, by the lake or whatever it is, like anything at all that has to do with them in their town. And they submit the videos, and then the lyric video consists of all the fan videos compiled into one.
Oh, wow.
I thought it was a really cool idea, especially to connect with people in a time like this where, like, speaking of live shows, like, that's a great way to connect, but we haven't been able to do that. So I guess it's almost like how can we pivot and come up with cool ideas, new ideas to connect with fans in this way why we can't see them in person.
Yeah, I definitely love that. So, as you know, a lot of people, and you kind of hit on this a little bit earlier, but I want to go deeper on this. But as you know, a lot of people, they see the glory of a Blake Shelton, of a Miranda, of a Carey, but they don't see the sacrifice, the struggles, the tears that it takes, not just to get to their level, but to get a career level within music. And I always want to talk about it because they kind of gloss over this side of it. Now I want to talk about it. And I'm going to tell a quick story to help guide us where I want this to go. But back in 2014, we interviewed Allison Steele from Two Steel Girls. And at that time, they were full-time with music. And I'll never forget, I asked Allison what advice she'd give an up-and-coming artist. And she said, this will sound funny coming from someone full-time, but if you can see yourself doing something else, go do that and just keep this as a hobby. She goes, because the moment you want it to be a career, everything changes. She goes, you no longer own your own life from that point on. She goes, your friends and relatives never understand. They invite you to weddings, to cookouts, to weekends, to getaways, to holidays, and all that. But when you're in that grind mode, especially your early years, you have to say no to everything that doesn't lead you towards music in most cases. And so she said you have to sacrifice that. Then your family has to sacrifice, like you said with your wife. They have to kind of kick you out the door and share you with the world and not have much time with you and kind of like it, even if they don't like it, to kind of motivate you a little bit. But then she added, but if you cannot see yourself doing anything else, then go all in. Because the only way that those type of sacrifices could ever become worth it. What do you think of what she said? And let's talk about that side of it.
No, that's great. I mean, I agree 100% with that. And it's somebody asked me, many times, like, what's your advice to like a new artist? And hitting on what you were just saying, if you can see yourself doing something else, then go do it. It's like, you can't have a plan B if you're really going to do this, because if you have a plan B, say like you're moving to Nashville, and new artist in town, if you say, all right, well, I'm gonna do this for I'm going to give it 4 or 5 years. And then if it doesn't work out, then I'm going to go. You're already setting yourself up for failure right there. Because mentally, so much of this is mental too. I mean, it's with all of the ups and roller coaster of ups and downs. If you're going into it like that, then it's just.
And that's like, we've watched a lot of interviews with the big artists. And there's always there's always one question that almost every host asks. And the answer they get is they're normally taken aback by this because society teaches different. But when it comes to interviews with artists, I've noticed the one question is always, if music didn't work, what would you be doing? And 95% of the time, the artist says, I would just be a broke musician because I had no plan B. And because we're in a society of plan Bs and plan Cs, the hosts are always like, you had no backup plan? They're like, no, because a backup plan will become your main plan when it gets tough.
That's so true. That is, 100%.
And of course, I think it's not saying that there's not a point in your career to where if you get to a point where you're like, you know what, I don't think it's going to work, that you can't go do something else. But it's while you're wanting it to work, you have to be all in.
100%. That's 100%.
Because that's like with our show, we want to be the Bobby Bones and the Ty Bentleys and all that eventually down the road, and so we have to outwork everybody. We, like you said, we did over 300 interviews last year. This week alone will be our biggest week ever at 15, 16 interviews, mainly because of CRS. I mean, we normally average 5 to 10 interviews a week, so this one's kind of pushing us here a little bit. But you know what? You got to do what you got to do if you want to get. You got that vision of, okay, this is where I want to be. What do I need to do to become that? And then you have to be then solely focused on that task.
Yeah, man, it's like horse blinders.
Yeah. Love that. Now, as you know, a lot of people, they see you as the artist, but they don't see the teams that make the artist. And I always believe that the teams never get the love they deserve. So I always said, you know what, on our show, they will get the love that they deserve. So if you want to take a few minutes to talk about the team, tell us about the people that make you who you are.
Yeah, man, that's so true. It takes a village. You can't do it alone. It really does take a whole team, and that's really what makes everything go. Because there's so many moving parts behind the scenes, and everything from show to daily things to social media to publicity to articles to, I mean, I could go on and on and on. And you can't do it without them. I've been fortunate enough to, man, the team I have, I mean, we great people, but it's really like a family. It's a family feel. And they share the vision. It's the same vision that I have for my music and me as an artist as they do. And you hear the stories of like the artist and the label, you know, with the vision of their music and that thing. I mean, you hear that story so many times. That's not the case. That's not, I fortunate with my team. I feel like I got the best team in town.
Wow. I love to hear that because, a lot of times the artists, especially when you get signed, someone gets signed by a label, sometimes a label, it's funny because, you build this base where you created, and the label wants to change you, and you're like, well, it's work. You wouldn't have signed me if it wasn't working, right?
They want to change the thing they signed you for.
And I get why, but at the same time, one thing I've been taught when we launched this show, I remember asking a friend of mine what advice he would give as we grew this show. And he said, whatever you do, start and stay authentic. He said, you could tell every Bobby Bones joke, you could tell every Ty Bentley joke. He says, you may even be good at it and create an audience. He says, but the day will come when authentic Chris comes out. And when that day comes, you're going to lose every bit of your audience because because they were never attracted to authentic Chris. So if you stay authentic from day one, you may grow slower, but in the long run, you'll gain the right audience.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And like, that's true, man. It's like, and people can tell too when something's, put on, I feel like as well.
Yeah. And they see right through. I mean, I'm sure you've watched people on stage and you're like, something don't feel right.
Yeah. You could tell, man. I think the fans can tell. I mean, they could, and through music too. It's like you're doing something that's not you. I mean, it may work and could do it for a bit, but like you said, I mean, I think in the long run, that's gonna come out, and you're gonna be tell if it's not authentic.
Exactly. And speaking of teams, a while ago, we've got a third co-host, our little 9-year-old. We always have come on, ask the questions. I'm gonna get Sandy to tell him to come back here because she's supposed to be listening. So hopefully, because she's with our 23-month-old, and when she gets older, we'll be plugging her in the show too, because we are a family affair show.
That's amazing.
Because again, when you got a family, what good is it to not involve them in what you're doing? If you can. Now, granted, there's some careers that you kind of can't. That's like as you grow, I'm sure you're excited for the day when you have kids and all that, to where you're at the Blake Shelton level where you can take your whole family with you.
No doubt, man. I mean, there's nothing more important than that. Hey.
Hi, Ben. So, what's your favorite food?
Favorite food? French fries.
What's yours?
Pizza.
Pizza.
Yeah, he's a pizza man.
Cheese pizza, or do you like any toppings?
I like toppings. I like pepperoni and sausage.
No, that's really good.
Yeah, meat eater.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Bye, thanks.
See you, buddy.
Yeah, he loves this part, and we enjoy having him on. And I've had some people say they wouldn't know, they'd be scared to put especially in a live interview, be scared to put their kid on, and we kind of tell him what to say, when to say. So we control it to the best. But again, being live, he could just blurt out something.
That's amazing.
Somebody said, send him some pizza.
Yeah.
It's funny because when he tells his pizza part, almost everybody says, "You know what? Tonight I'm getting pizza." So, is this your first time with CRS?
Yeah, this is. I had done well, I had done a couple, I guess a couple interviews the last couple years, but quick things. This is my first time with a week full of the virtual CRS experience.
Yeah, this is our. I mean, we've never been. I remember last year. I knew I couldn't make it then, but I was like, you know what? We're going to CRS next year, and thank God. Again, and it was another one of them things that COVID did because in this point of our life, we couldn't have made it to Nashville for this time period. So because it's virtual, we were able to be a part of it. So it's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
So
Yeah.
again, another thing that COVID's kind of done for us. And again, I don't want people to think I take that lightly because I don't. You know, I've got friends that's passed away. I've got friends that had it bad. I've also got a lot of friends that got it and really got nothing. So you just never know.
Right. Yeah, no, totally.
So if you could co-write with any artist, dead or alive, who would it be?
Man, that's a good question, man. I would say, man, I'll tell you the first that comes to mind because I love the songwriting. I always have is Eric Church.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he
would be great.
Yeah, the way I've always been a big fan of Eric. Even that Sinners Like Me, that first record, man. That's one of my favorite records of all time. But I think as a writer and an artist, he was definitely at the top of my list for that'd be a really cool experience.
You know, this month made the 6-year anniversary that we asked Kelsey Ballerini where she wanted to be in 5 years.
I saw.
And I always like to tell.
Awesome.
And I always like to tell this story before I ask the guest that same question, because the answer she gave us 6 years ago, within that 5-year span, she was living almost to the T of what she told us she wanted to live. So she knew where she was going. Knowing that, where do you want to be in 5 years?
Man, playing shows. No, man. The goal for me is to keep growing this thing, and I just want to connect with people through my music. I want to keep growing it where it's from, clubs to theaters to arenas, and with the main thing of just connecting with a lot of people through country music. I love country music and the way the lyric connects with people and is so relatable. That's what I love. I mean, that's why I do this. And maybe I can have a good impact on somebody, through my music. So I want to take that and reach as many people as I can, just because it's all about the song.
Love that. Our 5-year vision for this show is to be nominated for an Emmy. That would, because our ultimate goal is to be on TV like a Kelly Clarkson show where we, because when we first started this show, it was a country music interview show. Then it became a music interview show. Then it became an entertainment interview show because now we bring on artists, actors, athletes, and authors, pretty much for the most part. And later today, we actually got a comedian coming on at 2:00. And then we've got the former CEO and founder of Chipotle coming on.
Wow, man, that's awesome.
So it's all of a sudden our shows went from the one thing that we thought, and we feel like God has expanded that vision, to a different future than we ever imagined.
That's amazing, man. That's the thing is you never know. I mean, you can't fight God's plan. That's for sure. I mean, you never know. I mean, the way that things happen, and sometimes you feel like it could be the worst thing possible, and then it ends up being the best thing just because it was the way that it's supposed to be laid out. That's pretty powerful.
Since you talked about God, Lord, tell us a story where where God's guided you here, where you know this is what you're supposed to do?
I think I've been in Nashville for almost 10 years. And with the journey, the typical, like you hear, the ups and downs. It's an emotional, roller coaster journey of the yeses and the nos and the songs, and you keep plowing through and grinding and climbing that ladder because you know that you're going to do nothing else.
Yeah.
And I think this, I signed a new record deal with Courts Hill a couple months ago, and I think that with all of the ups and downs, I think that it was God's plan that this was the team that I was supposed to be with, and it took all of that to find it. And it's kind of like when I moved to Nashville, I moved at 19, and I applied to school down here, Belmont University, but I didn't get in right away my freshman year, and I was devastated. And that extra year was huge for me to continue building a fan base in Pennsylvania, where I'm from.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time, like, you don't see that. You think everything's crashing down. And then it's crazy how you can look back a little bit afterwards. You're like, oh, man, I'm so glad it worked out that way because of this, and this. And that's the plan, man. You can't fight it.
And that's like, in our 18 years of marriage, Sandy and I, we would be on the street, and I'd run into, and I'm not talking about friends, I'd run into strangers, and they would always if we were 2-3 minutes in a conversation, Sandy would know we're going to be there 30, 60 minutes. No ifs, ands, buts about it. Because when I get in a conversation, I get in a conversation. And so I've done that thousands of times. Little did I know that was preparing us for this show where we average 30 to 60 minutes per show. Now, granted, today's a little different because we're going back to back to back with artists. So it's like 15, 20 minutes. So it's like, I'm like freaking, like, how do I put in what I want to say into such a short time? But you're the fourth one, so I've done it somehow.
No kidding, man. That's awesome.
But God was preparing us for this moment, I think.
Yeah, for sure. It's wild, man. It's powerful stuff. That's awesome.
So as we come to a close here, what is an advice? Let's say you had a friend of yours and you heard him or her sing, and they've got something special. Let's say that they've it's like Simon Cowell would say, that it factor. Let's say they played maybe 40 or 50 shows, so they're still getting their feet wet on the performance side. But they gotten on stage, but it got what every artist says, that stage bug, where they look over the crowd and the crowd's roaring. They just know they're in the right place. They come to you and they say, Ben, I feel like this is my calling. What advice would you give that specific person to help guide them in the next couple of years?
Got to move to Nashville. You have to be here.
And we're moving to Nashville.
What'd you say?
I said, and we're moving to Nashville for our show.
Are you really?
About 12 months is the plan, so.
Man, congrats. That's awesome. Music City awaits you guys. That's amazing. Yeah, man, I would say move to Nashville as you still play shows, building a fan base outside of town. But the networking here, Nashville's a small town, really. It's a city, but small town, and like
everybody knows everybody.
Yeah. When I moved here, I was out like every single night just meeting people, because those are the people that you're gonna be working with, like creatively, or business side, and it's like a networking thing, but that's part of the grind, where you got to just dive in with zero backup plan, with faith in the dream, but also self-honesty. There's been times where you're biased of your own stuff. So like, everybody thinks that their stuff is good because they did it. That's natural, but I think there's a self-honesty thing too, where, I think you could dream big. We should all dream big. But be able to personally step back and look at it and say to yourself, is this as good as I think it is? Yeah. And I think if you mix a little of that in there, I don't know, I think that's really important. For me, at least, it was, to keep going and keep getting better and better and better.
Yeah, I love that. we really enjoyed having you on the show today. We definitely look forward to having you back.
Man, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to we'll have to get together when you guys get down here, man. That's awesome that you'll be down here 12 months.
Most definitely. And I'm going to undo the recording in a minute, so stay on the line a little bit for real quick.
Yeah.
Till after the show. But everybody, we hope you enjoyed 4 back-to-back artists. It was definitely never done that before, so it's the first time we've done that. So if I made a couple boo-boos, please forgive me, everybody. But at the same time, we got 2 more shows coming up later. There are our main show coming up at 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock Eastern time. So we look forward to seeing all y'all later. Okay, let me